So it was about a year and a half ago that we got our first camper. We went on our first camping trip, and that very first trip, I re-fell in love with camping. Again, there's something different about when you're camping and you're in a camper and you're at campgrounds. It's just not the same as hotels, VRBOs. And so we went to Texas for a 2-week trip and came back, I think, fully committed that we knew camping was going to be a part of our future, part of our lifestyle moving forward.
And I realized after Dawn selling me for so long that I actually liked camping. Like, camping was really cool. The only thing I didn't like about it was the camper that we had decided to purchase was a hybrid camper with the fold-out sides, because we're on a really lightweight camper. And so when we got back, I was like, okay, Dawn, you're right. I love camping, but I don't like this camper.
Yeah. And so as soon as we got back home, we started looking at campers again. And the problem was we didn't really want it to be much bigger. We just wanted it to have an enclosed, like, dedicated master bedroom, still have the bunkhouse in the back. And so we started looking, and we were having a really difficult time finding anything in our price range. They were all like double what it was that we were hoping to spend.
So my friends at Marketplace, I may have found a mildly water damaged camper that was in our price range, and I was shocked it was in our price range. And I think the saving grace with this camper was it was listed for like what it would be valued at repaired. And then if you read the ad, at the very bottom of the ad, they said it has water damage. Because of that, we're willing to sell it for this price. And I was like,
why don't you have it listed?
That's a mistake for you to list it that way. But I'm not telling anybody about that mistake.
So Tom kind of just like kept his eye on this, and we kept going back and forth. Do we really want to do a camper with water damage again? Yeah. So we knew we still had to sell our old one, and we weren't sold on this idea. It was cheap, but we knew it would be a ton of work. And so we're like, okay, we're just gonna keep moving forward with selling our first camper. So we got that sold.
Yeah, and I was still a little skeptical that like the ad was legit, like, because I was like, that doesn't make sense.
And it was 4.5 hours away from us.
Yeah, so a little bit of a time commitment.
And Tom kept going back and forth with the gal, asking for more pictures, more information. I felt bad because he was just like every day asking for like more and more. I'm like, finally we're going to have to like at some point commit or just walk away from it. And so we decided.
It's like, let's go look at this camper.
So we drove out there, and I just remember when we walked up to it and like I walked inside, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much nicer than our old camper. Our first camper, what year was it?
2006.
Okay, 6. This is a 2013. Yeah. And it was just, everything about it was nicer. All of the finishes were nicer. Yeah. You could tell where there was work that needed to be done. Yeah. It was a little bit bigger. It had this nice big slide. And I was just like, I knew, like, for me, I'm like, we're not going home without this camper. And Tom and I kind of passed in the doorway, me going in, him going out. I'm like, this is really nice. And he's like, yeah, it's really nice.
And like the water damage, we were like, well, it's not that bad. Like the original camper, I had to take every bit of the flooring out from the bathroom to the very front of the camper had to get removed. And so I was like, it's not as bad as that one.
Well, and so what we thought at that point, that the water damage was just by the window in the front. And I literally, like, I stepped back forgetting it was there and almost lost my balance.
Yeah, you almost went through.
Don't let Tom mislead you. Like, the water damage up front was pretty significant.
Oh, it was way bad. Yeah. I think I, like, put my toe on it, and it was literally, like, a wet sponge.
Yeah.
Like...
So, okay, Tom's like a master negotiator. So the four of us, the couple that's selling it, we're standing there in the yard. We're kind of at that point, like, Tom's like, are we going to get it? I'm like, I think so. And so he's like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, you do your thing with negotiating price. Tom throws out the, like, lowest offer. The gal does not even miss me. She's like, yep.
She didn't even hesitate. She's just like, yep.
And I was like, done.
Okay. I'm like, that was too easy. And Dawn was mad at me.
Well, I felt I'm like, should we give him more money? I don't know. Anyways,
No, we
that's
should
me.
not give them more money for it.
Anyways, but we did know from our first camper, because again, our first camper had water damage, but it was not disclosed. We bought it not knowing it had water
From a
damage.
dealer.
So we did know there was a lot of work ahead of us. So then I was like, okay, no, it's fine. And so we bought it and headed home.
Yeah, I think my biggest hesitation why I was trying to get it for as cheap as possible was there's so many unseens when you can't like take a razor blade and start cutting into something before you buy it. Like you can't really research inside the walls of it without really knowing how far it all goes. So I'm like, well.
Yeah. No, it's true. And we did learn that with our first camper. Although this time around too, Tom knew a lot more what you were looking for and you did a really thorough.
How to fix it better. Yeah.
So we have a friend and we told her about our new camper and what did she say?
She said, oh my goodness, you guys. It's like you enjoy hitting yourself in the face.
So we got back home and Tom started working on the water damage. We did find that there was more around the slide. So there ended up being kind of like 2 main areas. And real quick, what's the process that you had to go through to?
So Dawn's brother does water damage and mold remediation. And so we grabbed all his equipment, his drying stuff, put them in the camper, turned them all on, cut out all of the wet areas, dried them up for like a week or 2. And then once it was all dried and killed, then you go in and you put a 1/4 inch layer of plywood, epoxy, like 1.5 inch foam, and then epoxy 1/4 inch layer of plywood on top. And that creates the strength in your camper floor.
And that
it's good as new.
And that was one thing we had learned from our first camper. You kind of knew the best way to go about doing it. So Tom got all of that fixed pretty easily, and then we took it on a camping trip. Oh, you got the vinyl plank flooring down? And we took it on our first camping trip, and it was a great trip. We really liked this camper a lot. Now, when we got back home...
Somebody wanted to do other things to this camper.
I still wanted to paint the interior white. And now, I know when it comes to camping, sometimes people are like, why would you paint it white? Because camping is very dirty, right? And here's the reason why. White reflects light. And we had experienced in our first camper, when we painted the inside white, you walked inside and it literally felt twice as big. And so I knew from that experience and seeing others doing it online that if you want to make your camper feel bright and spacious and really enjoy being inside it, paint it white. And it's awesome.
And you really wanted to.
And I really wanted to. So here's where Tom and I differed though on opinion, was how do we go about getting it to white? And I had seen this gal use a spray painter
on YouTube.
And she painted her camper white and showed how easy it was, because you could do the primer, you could do the layers of paint, because it took 4 coats of paint. So I talked Tom into
getting extremely high.
And so the biggest problem that we ran into, correct me if I'm wrong, is that because it was 20 degrees outside, we couldn't have a ton of doors or windows open to keep it warm so the paint would dry and go on right. So it got very fumy, but it also kept a lot of moisture in there, which caused the tape and plastic to fall down.
Like almost all of it. So none of the tape has had any adhesion after that. It was because, yes, we're applying, I think we put like 3 to 4 gallons on, which is amazing that we put that much on.
In like 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
What was such a bummer about this then is that all of the 12 to 15 hours of taping and putting up plastic that we did, now it's all coming down. Like where we were going to make our time back was using the sprayer to prime layers, and then to paint, and even to paint the cabinets too. So now here we are, all of the tape and plastics falling down, and we're like, do we retape it or what? This is why we're not buying any more.
We're never painting a camper again.
Why we're not buying any more fixer-upper campers.
If you guys ever see a camper getting painted on this channel, you won't see me anywhere.
It has nothing to do with that. All right, so we only ended up spraying on the primer, and then Tom's like, we're done with that.
We're not spraying.
And then we rolled all of the walls and everything. It was fine. It is what it is at that point, right? And then we painted the cabinets. We kind of picked the wrong green the first time around. How far did you get before you're like, this is
Dude, way too
ugly.
far. Way too far. I got I'd say 60% of the kitchen done, part of the pantry cabinet, and part of the front bedroom closet.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting on the floor looking around while I was painting, and I'm like, gosh, it's just not grown on me.
Yep, it may have been a crayon.
Yeah. And so then we got this color, which we really liked.
Yep.
You must be pretty happy with how this looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
This is the fanciest thing we have ever created.
No, I like it. We intentionally went with a little bit lighter flooring just to keep it open and bright in here, but we still wanted it to have enough variation that the floor doesn't look dirty all the time, so I think we achieved that.
And then it really came together, and it felt night and day difference when you walked in here. It was just awesome, and we loved it. And so we're like, hey, let's go down to Florida for a few weeks. And the camper was great on that trip. What was the problem?
The camper was great. The problem was we were pulling it with a vehicle that may have some issues staying together.
Staying running.
Well, it ran, and there's other things broke. Well, it stopped running once.
Yeah.
We were headed from one campground to another on the east side of Florida, South Florida, and middle lane freeway, and the excursion just shut off. Like the motor just died. I re-cranked it, it fired right back up, and then like ran on half the cylinders and died again. And so I hit my hazards and got over to the shoulder. Dawn's dad was behind us.
And so luckily my parents had said like, hey, don't worry about it. You can take the truck back. We'll figure out our own way to get home. So that all worked out. I mean, that couldn't have worked out any better. I mean, we were really fortunate about that. Otherwise we would have been stuck down there for a lot longer.
What we found on that trip, I think, was that when we were at a campground and set up, we loved this camper.
It was great, yeah.
And what we learned too was that we needed to stay longer at campgrounds, so we didn't have to constantly be moving and setting up and all that.
And you get a discount at the campsites if you stay for over a week. I was like, we're idiots, Dawn.
I know.
Like,
we're learning a lot.
We talked to these people, they're like, oh, you should book for the month. It's like half the price. You guys are paying way too much. I'm like, man.
So when we were parked, when we were just like living in it, coming and going.
Driving a rental van.
Yeah. It was awesome. The layout we had changed. We pulled out the dinette, which Tom wasn't quite sure about that, but we had the 2-table situation going on then. It was awesome. It worked great. It opened it up so much in here. We got the full-size couch in, which was awesome. We barely used the kitchen. We used the microwave and the air fryer.
We never used the shower once. We always used the shower at the facility.
Like I would take the girls and go to the bathhouse. Tom would take the boys and go, and it was just. And then the changes we made to the bedroom. We, you know, had rotated the bed. We put the drawers underneath. We loved it. It functioned great. Like everything about this camper functioned really well. It was just heavy. We
may have added 1,000 pounds in remodel weight. I mean, sometimes when you make some changes in your personal life, your figure changes a little bit. She's 1,000 pounds heavier than manufacturer spec.
Yeah, so it's just a little harder to tow now, and it's just a long camper. Like it's just a big camper.
It's very long, but to pull this thing from Minnesota to Florida and then around Florida for a few weeks and back home, she's a long camper.
Yeah. Oh, the outside, too.
So Dawn was right. I just didn't want to do it. So the outside, the camper is 8 years old. It had been with one owner before we bought it. It sat outside every day since it was purchased. And you know when like stuff gets that chalky film on it, like a vehicle or whatever? Like this whole thing, like if you rubbed your finger on it, you would leave a shiny spot. It was just ultra chalky. So I buffed the entire camper.
Which took like 2 days.
Took a long time. And then we stripped the graphics off it because there was a totally unattractive koala on it.
We have nothing against koalas.
No.
Just that koala.
Just that koala, and then how it faded made it worse.
So we painted some of the graphics, we took some off and put new ones on. So you are saying that you're glad we did it?
It looks so much better now than before.
And I had said, like, I usually am not the one to be like comparing ourselves to others, but when we went to these campgrounds, there was beautiful campers there, like beautiful graphics, and they were shiny. And so
we went to one campground and a guy spent like 3 hours scrubbing the roof off of his camper. And I was like, wonder what the roof of our camper looks like. So when we got back, we kind of revisited what we don't like about the camper. And it's no counter space in the kitchen. We would like an outdoor kitchen, which there's no outdoor kitchen on this camper.
Yep.
The bathroom's really tiny, like really tiny.
And
and then just to shrink the whole camper up.
Yeah. So,
with staying in a hard-sided, no hybrid thing anymore.
Yeah. So we feel like we've done all that we can to it, and now it's time to pass it on to another family that can enjoy it. So we listed it for sale, and there was a family that was interested.
Yeah, they just sold their house, and they are looking to live in a camper while the new one's being built. So they're just going to park this out there and...
Yeah. And I think, honestly, for that, it'll be perfect. Like I said, we just really liked it a lot when it was parked, and we could just enjoy it. And so we really hope that it's going to be a really great camper for them. And I'm kind of excited about what's to come for us for our next camper too.
No more projects.
No more projects. Although, when I asked about a she shed camper, the response is...
she may not buy a she shed camper. No.
We'll just do it ourselves. It'll be fine.
Not
we'll
gonna
do
happen.
it.
I'm going to take all the receiver hitches off of all the vehicles. All right, well, this was going really well. Thanks for watching.
Well, things are coming along as we have transformed this camper. It has not been without drama, but it was fun, and we're always so grateful for your support and how you cheer us on and encourage us and tell us when the green is just not the right color. So thank you for that. We hope you have a really great weekend. We love you, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.